All right, so again, my party people, welcome in. I'm Coach Anderson. Welcome to our class on proportion word problems. So we have three main goals that we're going to be tackling in today's class. Number one, when it comes to proportion word problems, and remember, like I say with all word problems, they're really split up into two main things: the setup and the solution. Who's heard me say that before? Where I talk about, again, word problems being just a two-step or two-part process: understanding the words and converting it into math, and then actually doing the math to get the answer. Right? We've talked about this plenty of times. So, what we're going to do is we're going to simplify the process specifically for proportions. We're going to start off by learning how to solve these proportions, making sure we know how to do it. That way, when we move over and start working on the setup for proportions, we're not freaking out, worrying about the numbers. We're simply worrying about making sure the idea makes sense. When you don't have all the extracurriculars happening around you, it's a lot easier to learn. I hope you can agree with that. So again, we'll start off first by knowing how to do proportions, solve them, use some mental math, and make things easier. Then number two, learn how to set them up. And so that way we can put it nice and neat together, but also we need to learn that there are different types of proportion problems. And what are the key words that really point that out for us? Has anyone here ever done a proportion word problem that included a total? Some examples may be, hey, the ratio of males to females at an establishment are 5 to 8. If there are 150 total patrons, how many are male? Has anyone ever seen a problem like that where they include the total when it's the ratio of these two things, but then they give a total? Right? We've all been there. And for those of you that have been there, how did you feel? Were you stumped by that problem, or were you successful in that problem? No idea what to do. How else did everybody feel? You felt stumped, you got stopped. It was a big no. Confused was confused. You felt successful, Jasharia. I love seeing that. Stumped, Jonathan. Okay, so it looks like the majority of us, the vast majority of us, felt stuck. But I'm here to tell you that there's actually a very simple, straightforward process to getting these total problems done. And as long as you learn the main idea of proportions, which I'm going to show you in the very next slide, if you learn this main idea, I can tell you right now, you're going to be hooked on proportions. You're going to look forward to doing them because you know exactly what to do and how to look for the certain keywords. So with that said, man, let's go ahead and have some fun here. Let's learn some proportions. So here's the first thing. Look, the main notes. Main notes, if there's anything that you're going to write down at all, anything at all, it's going to be this right here in red. It's going to be that when it comes to proportions, really all you're doing is comparing the same things in the same way. If you came to my previous classes on solving equations word problems, so last week and the week before that, the main idea was, well, looking at linear equation word problems and understanding that if there was a rate and a starting amount, an initial value, that's how you knew you were dealing with an equation word problem. Here today, the main idea is that if you're comparing the same things in the same way, or if you can compare the same things in the same way, then you are for sure, again, also dealing with a proportion. So write that down. That's the first thing that you want written down right here. Write this down. And I really want you to write this down really at the top of your page. Make it as visible as possible, because I promise you, I 100% guarantee you this. Anytime you're stuck on a problem today in today's class, I bet you we can refer why you got stuck to comparing the same things in the same way. I guarantee you. So write that down. And so with that, let me answer any questions here. Looks like we're all good. Perfect. And remember, everybody, the successful class means asking questions and asking me to repeat myself when necessary. So if you feel stuck, just let me know. I got you. We're going to get into some practice problems pretty soon here, but we have to make sure that we finish these notes. So who here is pretty confident that they know what a proportion is? Yes or no? Who here is confident that they know what a proportion is? Yes or no? Okay. Okay, it's a lot more no's than yeses. So, and yeah, don't need to say no lie. I got you. It's all good. Again, I'm your teacher. I'm not grading you. I'm helping you get that grade. So on top of that, okay, not many of us are confident that we know what proportions are, but do you know and are familiar with what a fraction is? How about that? Are you confident that you know what a fraction is? If you saw a fraction, you could spot it. Okay, so if you know what a fraction is, you can absolutely learn what a proportion is. All a proportion is just two fractions that are the same. That's it. That is it, everybody. So, for example, everyone, is it true that 1 is half of 2? Is 1 half of 2? Is 1 half of 2? I shouldn't even be asking that question, right? Of course, 1 is half of 2. A lot of us can confidently say that. Cool, sounds great. Now, is it also true that, let's say, is 5 half of 10? Is it true that 5 is half of 10? Okay, great. So if I were to write 1 over 2 equals 5 over 10, that would be a true statement. That's true. These are two fractions that mean the same thing. 1 over 2 is 1 half of 2, right? 5 over 10 means 5 tenths, or 5 being a half of 10. So these are the same. These are the same fractions. And so therefore, this would be considered a proportion. That's it. A proportion right here. Let me write this down for you, or highlight it for you. What are proportions? Two fractions that are the same. They're the same parts of the same wholes. That's all it is. So again, for right now, these are your opening notes. I'm asking you to write these pieces of information down, because as we continue on, we're going to bring this information together. So again, kindly write this down, because we're going to bring it together when we work on the problems. All right, so we're not talking about ASVAB grades right now. We're talking about proportions. If you have any questions, feel free to forward them over to me after, and I got you. So again, proportions, two fractions that are the same. If I said 1 half is equal to 5 tenths, that would be absolutely true, because I could grab my calculator and I can do what's 1 divided by 2? 0.5. What's 5 divided by 10? 0.5. Again, they mean the same thing. Fractions are just parts of wholes. So yes or no, before we continue, does that overall concept make sense? Just a proportion being two fractions that are the same. Okay, sounds good. So the reason that I'm leading off with that, the reason that I'm starting off with this, is because if you understand the rules or the properties of the topic that we're talking about, then you can start to discover some of the tricks and tips and the strategies that all these people out there are claiming they know. I'm showing you where these tricks are coming from. That way you can really help these ideas stick, and then you can take this further than you ever could. So let's go ahead and have some fun here. We have this example here in yellow, but we also have this same example listed right below. So I'm going to count to 5 to let you take a screenshot of this slide before I move down. 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so let's go ahead and move it on down here, and let's take a look at this example, because what we're going to do is I'm going to set this proportion up, and what I'm going to do is, again, show you some of these tricks and strategies that you can apply to help yourself solve. So the example here is this. There are 3 red marbles for every 6 blue marbles. If there are 12 red marbles, there are 24 blue marbles. So let me show you the idea of, again, comparing the same things in the same way. What does that mean? How do we set up a proportion? So everyone, let's go ahead and go through this here. Is it true that in this first sentence, it says 3 red for every 6 blue, correct? Yes or no? Great, sounds good. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the second sentence. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. We see that the second sentence says, hey, 12 red and 24 blue. So I'm going to make sure that I compare these things in the same way. If I started off with red and I compared to blue in that first scenario, I'm going to want to start off with red and compare to blue in that second scenario. Again, comparing the same things in the same way. That's going to be the theme of the class, and I'm probably going to say it 62 more times. And if you get annoyed by it at some point, that's a good thing, because it might mean that you understand it so well that I'm probably starting to annoy you. So with that, let's go ahead and try that out here. 12 red. And then there are, you can say for every, or there are That's just a connecting phrase. And then you have 24 blue. So before I continue, can everybody verify that information is written down correctly, right? 3 red for every 6 blue, 12 red for 24 blue. That was written down correctly, right? Just making sure. Because we're going to go ahead and set up the math, and I want to blow your minds. I want to make sure you can have some fun with this. But first, I want you to just confirm that these are the correct numbers. Cool. Sounds good. So let's have some fun here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up this proportion. So as long as you compare the same things in the same way, you're good. So I'm going to go and just compare red to blue. So here at first we have 3 to 6. And then over here, red to blue. Again, compare the same way, 12 to 24. All right. So just like we said earlier, when we compared that 1 over 2 and 5 over 10, we saw that, again, 1 was half of 2, 5 was half of 10. So they were the same fraction because there was the same comparison. This is the same thing. 3 is half of 6 and 12 is half of 24. So we already know that. But let's get into some of the more really traditional ways that people tend to solve proportions. Everybody, what's the way that you were taught in school? It was something like cross something and div something. I don't know. Or how are you guys taught in school? Right? Cross multiplication and division, right? That's typically how you're taught. Cross, multiply, and divide, and you'll solve this. Now, when you have all the numbers, you don't need to divide. Something really cool happens to prove that you are dealing with a proper proportion if they already give it to you. Let me just show you. Quick question, everybody. Let's cross multiply. What is 6 times 12? What is that going to be? That's going to be 72, right? 6 times 12, that's 72. 10 is 60, 66, 72. That makes a lot of sense. That's 72. Now over here, what's 3 times 24? That might be a little harder, so we might need to go ahead and, set that up right here on the side. 4 times 3 is 12. 2 times 3 is 6. Carry the 1 is 7. Oh, look at that. Okay. Look at that. When we cross multiplied, did the equation stay true? Did the equation stay true after cross multiplying? Yeah. And that's why cross multiplying and dividing works. That's why it really does work. It's cool. It keeps the balance and everything's all good and well, lets you solve it right on. Now, let me show you a couple of other strategies that are really going to turn the tables for you in terms of giving you the advantage of time. When you're taking the ASVAB, again, it's not just about being able to do it. It's about being able to do it quickly. So let's show you a couple of other strategies that will work. Allow me to go ahead and just duplicate this. Put this right over here. Let me make that smaller. Place that over there. Move this over here. Let's have a little more fun with this, everybody. Everyone, quick question. What's one thing that you typically do when it comes to fractions and word problems and your final answer? This is a word that starts with S. Starts with S. You typically do it to fractions before you see your final answer. What's that S word? Simplify. Exactly. A lot of the times we simplify fractions. So let's go ahead and understand the merit behind this. Let me help you understand why this is something that you want to learn. Again, it's about dealing with easy numbers when you can. Sometimes you're going to be dealing with a 6 times a 12 or a 3 times a 24. That's great. But what if you were cross multiplying 45 and 96? Would you really want to put yourself in a position to waste time and calculate two massive numbers? No. I'm not even going to let you answer that because the answer is no. I want you to deal with easier numbers, and here's how. Simplify the fractions if you can. You can simplify them up to down. So like this fraction, you can simplify it, or this one, you can simplify it. But you can also simplify left to right, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. But first, here's the reminder about the simplification vertically. Everyone, let's look over here with 3 and 6. What goes into both 3 and 6? What can we divide out of both? They are both divisible by 3. And if you do that, you'll get a 2 out. But they can both be divided by 3 if you wanted to. So here's what you'll see. You can go ahead and divide by 3, and you end up getting 1/2 equals 12 over 24. And on the flip side of 12 over 24, you can actually go ahead and, hey, I can divide 12 and 24 both by 12. And if we wanted to do that, we absolutely could. Nice and easy. If we wanted to, that would end up being 1/2 equals 1/2. And that's it. That proves it. 1/2 equals 1/2, and you have that going on. You can do that up to down. We've done that before. If you've ever done fractions, perfectly allowed to do that here. When the example comes up again in a practice problem that we're doing, I'll show you that. But now there's one more thing I wanted to show you, and it's how to compare the same things in the same way. This is going to give you an advantage as well. Everyone, when we take a look back at this, because this is something that's probably a little tougher for everybody to see. That first one, I get you, it's probably easy. But here's something that you may not have known before. So, quick question, everybody. How do I go from, let's say, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this 24, and I'm going to move it over here. There's my answer. It's 24, but I'm going to replace this with x now, a variable. Let's pretend we didn't know that the 24 was there. But the answer is still 24. We proved it. We've simplified it. We've messed around. We know we're good. But watch this. Everyone, if I wanted to compare the same things in the same way, my understanding of that is this, that if I make the comparison from 12 to x, from the top to the bottom, that's the same comparison that you can make from 3 to 6. Why is that helpful? Guess what, everybody? How do you go from 3 to 6? What number do you multiply by to go from 3 to 6, everybody? What is that going to be? That's going to be times 2. So let me go ahead and write that right there. 3 times 2 equals 6. Yeah, that makes sense in my head. And remember that with proportions, compare the same things in the same way. I went from red to blue times 2. That means that red to blue over here times 2. Everyone, what's 12 times 2 going to be? 24. Was the answer 24, everybody? Was the answer 24? It was. Did that surprise anybody? Did that surprise anybody? Say, hey, it surprised me, being able to do the math that way. Cool. And I know a few of you are going to say no for sure because you've been in these classes and you've seen my proportion classes. So right on. Now, let's review this other way that we can compare. And then we're going to move forward with the setup of them. Because again, solving is very important and we're going to have plenty of opportunities to practice. But here's one more way to solve them before we move into the setups. So again, like I said, compare the same things in the same way. Okay, can I compare left to right? Yeah, absolutely can. If I wanted to go from, let's say 6, let's use purple here. If I wanted to go from 6 to the answer, well, I don't know what the answer is, so I don't know what the scale is. But if I'm going left to right, that means I can go left to right up top as well. I can figure out what the number is that I'm supposed to multiply by looking at the comparison left to right. If I compare the same way from left to right on bottom and left to right on top, it's compared the same way. So everyone, quick question. How do I go from 3 to 12? My man Seth, appreciate that. Riona, Remy, thank you. Glenda, thank you. Jessica, Whitney, Yabani, Tay, appreciate all that. That's right. That's going to be times 4. So it's going to be the same comparison at the bottom. We know we're going to multiply by 4. 6 times 4 is what, my party people? 6 times 4 is 24. And again, you get the same correct answer in a different way, but because we're following the same main idea, we're good. Compare the same things in the same way, and you're fine. This helps you very much so when it comes to the solution, because sometimes you might be given some ridiculous numbers to work with, but if you realize that, oh, it's just a times 2 relationship between here and there, bam, easy math, easy money, you're done, move on, save time. Does that make sense where I'm coming from, my party people? Yes or no? Does that make sense? Again, compare the same things in the same way, and you'll be golden. That's true for solving them, and it's also true for setting them up. So with that said, let's take a look at some problems where we're going to be setting them up, and let's see how we can spot some mistakes that are very, very common. So I'm zooming out here. I'll let you take a screenshot of this. Do your thing. I'll give you 10, 12 seconds. And we're going into our first example here about an airport gate. You might be able to see it right there in the bottom. So this is going to be a lot of fun because today we're going to be practicing some of the problems that I've generated with my program. And again, you're going to receive about 500 word problems, all with step-by-step solutions. It's going to be a really good time. And so I'm really excited for it. So let's make sure that we're not trying to memorize the scenarios or situations. Those are always going to change. What we're going to be doing is focusing on the setups and why they're correct. So let's go ahead and move forward here into the next page. There's your smile, Seth. Let's get started. So my party people, when it comes to word problems, if you're new to my classes, I want to make sure you know what's up. The first thing that we always do with word problems, my party people, is what? Already 5 people answered. Read the question. All right. You always want to read the question first. What I mean by read the question is not the problem from start to finish. No, I mean go straight to the part of the problem that says who, what, when, where, why, how many, which of the following, like the actual question sentence. You want to go straight there because what that's going to do for you is going to point out immediately what the goal of the problem is. It might not tell you what math to do, but it's always going to tell you what you're looking to find. So starting off right here, look, it says, hey, if there are 60 females, here's the question. How many males are there? Again, who, what, when, where, why, how many, which of the following, all that. Those are your question action words. This if right over here, this if, that's giving you information that's connected to the question. But overall, this is your question. So everybody, in one word, we are looking for the number of what? That's right, Jasharia. And yeah, we are looking for the number of males. Sounds good. So what we want, step number 1, what we want the number of males. And again, because they connect the information right here, if there are 60 females, how many males? Everyone, is it true that because those 2 pieces of information are in the same question sentence, that the number of males is somehow connected to 60 females? Is that true? Yeah. Again, they put it in the same sentence right there at the end. Yes, you can feel more than confident that some way, somehow, this will probably help you in the future. So let's write that down together. We have blank males and 60 females. Sounds good. So here's what we're going to do next. What we're going to do next is we're going to gather the information that we have. Again, first step, point out the question. Step 2, what information do we have that could possibly help us answer that question? So what information do I see, though? I see that at an airport gate, let's read it from the top there. At an airport gate, there are 20 males for every 5 females. Okay, so we have 20 males for every 5 females. Now, at this point in the problem, the moment that you read that, this is where you should feel 100% confident that this is a proportion word problem. Can anybody tell me why I can confirm and say confidently that this problem here is a proportion word problem? Why is it? Give me a reason. You can use a sentence or 2, but why is it that we can say that this is a proportion word problem? Rashawn, that's what I wanted to hear. The comparison. Notice how the first sentence says, hey, we have this many males for this many females. The next sentence says, you have this many females, how many males? Notice that you're comparing the same things, males and females, and you're going to set it up in the same way to solve it, but you're truly, in but the first and second sentence, you're comparing the same things, males to females, twice. So now, as long as we set it up in the same way, we can solve it and be done. So before I continue, yes or no, do you understand that before we continue, do you understand that the problem does this twice? It compares males to females twice. And again, that's how you know it's a proportion problem. You are comparing the same things, and now we're going to compare them in the same way. So right over here, it says 20 males. So everybody, should I write 20 males here? Or should I write 20 males on the right side? On the left or on the right? Where should I write it to make sure that it's balancing out and make sure that we're comparing the same way? On the left side, that's correct. Because again, we have 20 males or blank males and we have 20 males. We want to compare the same things in the same way. So if we're starting with males and ending with females, we'll be consistent. Start with males down here and end with females on the right side. So 20 males for every 5 females. Sounds good right there. 5 females. So before we continue, does it make sense to you that what we're doing right now is we have successfully compared males and females in the same way now? Males, then females. And if we wanted to, we could absolutely do females to males. No problem there. No problem there. All right, cool. Sounds good, guys. So now we're going to set this up, solve it, and be done. Here's the cool thing about it. Let's go. So we're going to go ahead here and say, hey, M males and 60 females. So I'll go M over 60. Again, M over 60. Left to right, up to down. You're good, whatever. Just do it the same way on the second try here. So now we're going to have 20 males and 5 females. So that'll be 20 over 5. Everyone, that's it. That's the setup. We've compared the same things in the same way, and we're good and ready to go to solve this. That is it. That is truly, truly, truly it. Is anybody here nervous about the calculation that's about to happen? Yeah, I might feel a little nervous, and that's okay. And for the person asking if we can cross out the zeros, that's not going to happen. Because if we're going the traditional way of using cross, multiplication, and division, here's what's going to end up happening. What's going to end up happening, and I'm going to do this actually twice. I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this over here because I'm going to show you 2 different ways to solve this here and here. But let's go ahead and show you the traditional way, cross multiplying and dividing. My party people, what happens when we cross M times 5? That's going to give us what? What's that going to give us? M times 5 is just going to be right 5M. No big deal. No big deal. That's 5M. Then, everyone, what is 60 times 20? That's a little more cumbersome, right? It's a little trickier. But if we know what 6 times 2 is, which is 12, we just stack those 2 zeros back, right? So 60 times 20 should be 1,200. But again, if we can skip all of that mental gymnastics, maybe that'd be nice. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But here we have 1,200. So once we have this here, everybody, what's the last thing that we need to do? And be specific. I like that. Leslie, Raymond, come on. Thank you, Jonathan. There we go. Divide both sides. Divide both sides by 5. I need to divide both sides by 5. And so in doing so, divide right here and right there by 5. And we're good. Cross out the 5. We have M equals, and now we have to figure out, hey, what's 1,200 divided by 5, right? What's that going to be? So now we'll go ahead and have to do a little bit of long division if we didn't know how to do that already. So great, right? We're spending a little more time than we need to. 5 goes into 12. That's going to be 2 times. Okay, minus 10. That's going to be 2. Bring down the 0. 5 goes into 20 4 times. Okay, sounds great. Subtract a clean 20. Bring down that 0. That's going to be a 0. So M equals 240 males. Right? Everybody, that's good, right? 240 males. Looks like we got the correct answer. And that would be answer choice B. And again, that's just one way to solve it. Just one way to solve it. Now, I want to show you something really, really, really handy, really useful, something that I want you to think about the next time you do a problem, a proportion word problem, because mental math makes things so much easier. So I think that it's very obvious that the idea of mental math, right, if you're good at it, yeah, it does save time. But let me show you how much time it saves. Let me show you again what we did here. We went ahead first and we cross multiplied. Then we got that. Then we had to do 2 multiplications, so m times 5 and 60 times 20. Then after we did those 2 calculations, we divided by 5, so then we did 1,200 divided by 5. That's another big calculation. Boom, and we got 240. You want to know something cool about over here? It's the same exact problem, but watch this. Okay, going from 5 to 20, that's times 4. So 60 to the answer times 4. 60 times 4 is 240. And you're done. If you notice that, you could have got this done in 5 seconds or less. So that's what I wanted to point out, my party people. The power that you have with noticing the comparisons. If you know how to compare the same things in the same way, you put yourself in that position to get that done very quickly. So yes or no, my party people, does that make sense? Does that make sense? And so yeah, for sure, I'll explain again where I got the 4 from. I got the 4 from, again, the comparison. Again, write this down. I got you. Compare the same things in the same way. Compare the same things in the same way. So if I'm going, again, bottom to top, on the right side, I'm going bottom to top on the left side. The way that you go from the bottom to the top, whatever you multiply or divide by, because that's how proportions work with multiplication or division. However you go with multiplication or division from the bottom to top on the left side is the same as the right side. If you go left to right on the top, the way you go left to right at the bottom is the same way. Again, compare the same things in the same way. That's what that means. That's what that means. Yes or no? Again, now does that make a little more sense? Does that make a little more sense? And specifically, I think I'm looking for whose response? Andrew. That's the response I'm looking for. Andrew, let me know if that makes a little more sense because I saw that you were struggling just a little bit. Cool. My man, I got you. So with that, let's go, man. So I like seeing that. I hope that you appreciate, again, yes, there is a normal way to do things, the standard straightforward way, but it's really truly about working till you have that understanding of noticing these shortcuts and getting some valuable time added back to your clock. That's what you want. So boom, there's the problem again. Let me go ahead and get myself a little out of the picture. Right over there. Take your picture. It's so close to Christmas. I'm so excited. So with that, what we're going to do now is we're going to do another one here. We're going to do another one, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to try it out. So it's going to be a very similar situation, talking about males and females. And let's just see if you can set the question up properly. Try not to go step by step from this question. Try instead to go through the motions of what we're supposed to do. Read the question first to see what you have to find. Write down your information. And then, knowing that it's a proportion problem, make sure that you try to compare the same things in the same way. Do your best and try to set it up. Don't worry about the solution. Just try to set it up. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to just try to set it up. We'll solve it together and we'll move forward from there. So 3, 2, and 1. So go for that. There you go. Let me get that timer up and give you the chance to try it out. Timer started. And let me get my ugly face out of the way so you can practice. All right, and so we still have a minute left. So remember, do your best to try to go through the motions here. What do you want first? And so what we're asking to figure out, remember, after the who, what, when, where, why, how many, it says how many females. So make sure to have that written down at first. Even if you're confused, make sure to write down blank females is what we're looking for. Make sure to have that written down. So again, if you're saying that you're lost, I don't want you expressing that not quite yet. We still have 30 seconds on the clock here. So your goal is to try every single way until that time is up. No excuses. So we're looking for blank females. And remember that they give you some extra information. 28 males are present. So write that down. All right, 2, 1, and time. If you have an answer, go ahead and put that answer in. And I saw a few comments that I'm definitely going to respond to. I got you. Give me one moment here. Let me get my face back in the picture and delete that timer. And we're good there. Cool. So let me answer some of these questions here before I move into it. So what do I do? It makes me angry when I don't understand something. How do I get over that? It's really about being patient with yourself and understanding, again, starting from the main idea. What's the next step we need to take? Like before I'm doing these big word problems, do we understand that it's a two-step process, the setup and the solution? So we want to know what you're good at and what you're bad at. That way we can make improvements from where we are. So here, first step, everybody, yes or no, does it make sense that we're looking for the number of females and there's a number associated with that and it's 28 males? Again, looking for females and they give you 28 males for those blank number of females. Great. So it looks like the majority of us here are saying, yeah, we understand that. And to answer your question, Yabani, yes, it does matter. X over 35 and 35 over X are two different fractions, two completely different fractions. So you want to make sure you are consistent, again, comparing them in the same way. So let's check out the information that we have. Everybody, I see right here that we're given 10 males for every 35 females. So everyone, if I were to write this down, 10 males for every 35 females, my party people, would this be correct or incorrect in terms of setting my proportion up? Would that be correct or incorrect? And give me a reason why. If it's correct, tell me why. If it's incorrect, tell me why. What do you think? I like it. There we go. So some of us are saying wrong or incorrect. And the reason that you're saying is because I'm not comparing the same things in the same way. And that is absolutely nail on the head. Yes, that's what I want to hear. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. And to help you understand this, let me color code it for you. Notice how up here, the top row, we have 35. We have blank females. I'll use green for females. We have blank females with 28 males. But here at the bottom, look how it shows 10 males with 35 females. So everyone, does it make sense to you that this is not compared the same way? We compare females to males, then males to females. Yeah, we're comparing the same things, but it's not in the same way. Do you understand that? Like, this is incorrect because yes, we're comparing the same things, males and females, but it's in not the same way. We are going here, green to red, then red to green. That is not correct. And if you were to try to create a proportion out of that, that would end up flopping. That would not work. That would be incorrect. Yeah, Corbin, I'm good. I feel good today. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that. But hopefully everybody sees that, though. All right? Hopefully everyone sees that. We want to be ready to really, again, incorporate these ideas. Comparing the same things in the same way, that's what that means. So we're going to go ahead and set this up the right way. Everybody, how can we set this up the right way? If we're going green first, then red, or females first, then males second, what's all we got to make sure we do on the bottom? What's all we got to do on the bottom? If it's females first, then males second on the top, what needs to be first? What needs to be second on the bottom? What do we need? Exactly, indeed. We got to flip it. Put the females first. Let's go ahead and grab that over here. Females first, then males second. And look, you can even tell visually speaking. But look at that. That's visually more appealing. That's more organized. That's more consistent. So, do we see the merit behind that now? Just compare the same things in the same way. Does that make a little more sense to you? Great, 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 great. Again, today's going to be a lot of building up and a lot of practice, but tomorrow is the whole 2-hour class period for practice. So I'm really making sure that we understand the properties and ideas here so we can run to the races when we get to those practice problems later. So there it is. We have F females with 28 males. So F over 28. There we go, females to males. And then right here, 35 females, 10 males right here. And it's again, females up top, males on bottom. We are good. Right on. So that's it. That's it. We're all set. We can figure this out. Now, in solving this, there are 2 different ways that we can do this. 2 different ways. One, we can do the whole cross multiplying and dividing thing. And the other way, we can do some mental math. So I'll show you both again exactly what I mean when I say you can save a lot of time. Everyone, we have to do F times 10. That would be 10F. Anybody here know what 28 times 35 is off the top of their head? Anybody know what that is off the top of their head? Okay, cool. Was that off the top of your head, Raymond, Camille, Lewis? If that wasn't on the top of your head, I did teach you well. All right. So with that 28 times 35, that's going to give you the 980. So 10F equals 980. And then from there, we would go ahead and divide both sides by 10. And we would get F equals 98. And that would be particularly 98 females right there. So again, that would be, if you wanted to see me do that calculation all the way up here, 35 times 28. Again, I'm just proving the point that this would take you a pretty long time that you don't need to spend. So with that, booyah right there, boom, that's going to be 7,980. So that would be the math right there. So we could take a lot less time than it, guys. If you understand how to simplify fractions, if you understand that you can manipulate the numbers beforehand, simplify beforehand, you're good. So take a look right over here. Same problem, but what do I notice? I instantly notice that I don't want to multiply 28 and 35. I don't want to do that. What I can do is 35 and 10 are both divisible by 5. They are both divisible by 5. So if I wanted to do that, I'm more than happy to do that. Boom. Divide by 5. And what do I get? I get myself over here, F over 28 equals, everybody, 35 divided by 5 is what? Great, 35 divided by 5, that'll be 7. Everybody, 10 divided by 5 is what? That'll be 2. So look at that. That gave me a much easier time. And guess what else I saw? Right here, when I get to this point, what I notice is that, hey, I can go from 2 to 28 fairly quickly. Everybody, what do I multiply 2 by to get to 28? Thank you. That's 14. 2 times 14 is 28. And if we're comparing the same things in the same way, because again, to go from 7 to F, that's the same from 2 to 28. So if I notice that from right to left on the bottom is times 14, then right to left on the top has to be times 14. Comparing the same things in the same way. So excuse me there, grab this. So comparing the same things in the same way. And so everybody, 2 seconds, we're going to grab this one piece that fell over here. But with that said, my party people, what is 7 times 14? That's going to end up being 98. Exactly. Give me 2 seconds here. Cool. And I'm hoping that we are good because this fell right on the ground and it might have just broken my iPad. No, no worries. Cool. So for right now, let me go ahead until we figure this out. Looks like it broke, but for right now, let's go ahead and keep it going here. That would be 98 in the same way, which would give you that correct answer right over here as C. So for some reason, yep, broke my iPad pencil, but give me 2 seconds. I'll figure that out while we do the next problem. So again, you can highlight answer choice C. That would be correct. So any questions on that before we continue in terms of the setup for these proportions? As long as you set them up in the same way, you're good. Yes or no? Does that make sense? Yeah, you could do males first and then females. Yeah, you could absolutely do 28 males to F females as long as you do 10 males to the 35 females. As long as you have males first in both fractions, female second in both fractions, yes, you're good. Absolutely. Great question. Yeah, great question. Great question. You could absolutely do that. Cool. Any other questions on that? These are good. All right, cool. So let's go into this next one now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you again 2.5 minutes, and I want you to be informed that this is getting into one of those part to total problems now. Notice that this here and the one before it, these were both part to part problems where I gave you males and females and kept it males and females. Now, what you're going to see in this next problem is I'm going to throw in a total being involved. Now, I want to know how you handle this. And if you know intuitively what you might need to do to solve it. But remember, the same thing is going to ring true. Compare the same things in the same way. Do that, and you'll be fine. So let's go ahead and get this up here. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. Try it out. Let me get my ugly face out of the way, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. And that is time, my party people. Let's go ahead and see what we got. Let's see what we got. So let's go ahead and pull it up there. All right, my party people. So how are we feeling about this one? So a lot of us are getting, it looks like A is the popular. Okay. Now, we're going to understand full and well how this is going to work out for us. Give me 2 seconds here, actually. And let me see that. Cool. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So let me get 2 seconds here to see what I can do to activate using just my fingers here, because it looks like I ran into a little issue where my pen ended up breaking. So that was unfortunate. But let me see over here if I can figure out how to get that fixed up. Give me one moment, everybody. Just troubleshooting this. It should be nice and easily good to go. So over here. And if anything, I should be able to go ahead and present from a different screen here anyway. But unfortunately, I did break my Apple Pencil. I didn't have that backup ready to go. I had a backup for everything else, but not this one. So give me 2 seconds over here. Let me just go ahead and go here to settings. Go over here to Bluetooth. And then we are going to forget this device and hop on over here. And let's see if this will let me do my magic. Yes, that's it. That is my Wi-Fi. That's hilarious. Yep, I know. Tried to do it quickly, but y'all caught on. So let me see if this will still let me work with the Apple Pencil. And that is unfortunate. So unfortunate. And for some reason, let's see, Unified Notes. Man, for some reason, it won't let me use. Man, it won't work. All right. Yep, definitely gonna have to buy a new pencil and probably buy 16 backups just in case, right? So let's go ahead and find another way to do this, because I'm just gonna bring this over onto my PowerPoint screen. So I got y'all, don't even worry about it. I'm gonna bring this right over here, and I'm gonna zoom over to this third problem, and I'm gonna show you how to do this step by step. So let me switch over. I'm gonna switch this over to PowerPoint. All right, my party people. So there is the screen behind me. Can everybody see the screen behind me? I'm basically just going to go ahead and do this the raggedy way, but it's still going to be the fun way. So can you guys see the screen behind me? Yes or no? All right, cool. Sounds good. Looks like you guys can see it. And we have that fixed up as best we can. So there it is. I'm going to make the best of a bad situation, my party people. So let's go ahead and have some fun here. So with this problem, again, just like we said, we have to find the number of total stickers here. So let me show you what I mean by that. So right over here, how many total sticks are there if there are 48 yellow sticks in the bag? So before we continue, is it true that what we want to find is just the total number of sticks? Right, just to begin there, that's really all we're looking for. That's all we care about. Sounds good. So what are we gonna do about that? Well, we need to write that information down. So allow me to write that information down right over here. Grab a neat piece of a text box. And what I'll say is we want blank total sticks. And is it true, everybody, that they give us a little more information here in this problem, in that sentence? Is it true that they include 48 yellow sticks with that? Is it true that they include 48 yellow sticks with that? And I hope you can agree with that, because that's right there. That is right there. They give you 48 yellow sticks with it. That's true. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and point out the information that's given to us, because I think it's going to be surprising that for those of you that got A, how close you were to getting the right answer. So here's what's happening. Here's what's going on. In the next sentence here, right below this, what we're going to do is we're going to write the information they give us. They gave us over here, they gave us 14 blue sticks for every 42 yellow sticks. So were you guys able to write that piece of information down? Here, 14 blue sticks for every 42 yellow. Were we able to write that down? Okay, great. So let's understand here why the whole, hey, compare the same things in the same way. This is why that's important. Right over here, watch this. If I were to set this up now, and I were to go ahead and use another text box, I'm gonna go ahead and pop in another one. Let's do that right over, let's say here. And if I were to go ahead and make an equation, I'll use x over 48 equals 14 over 42. So let me go ahead and make that bigger, obviously, so that everybody can see. Everybody, was this your setup? Was that your setup? Did your setup look something like that? X over 48 equals 14 over 42. And yeah, you can absolutely solve this with cross multiplication, but I know that some people here are going to say no to how they set this up. But let me show you why you would have gotten what you've gotten. So everybody, for the people that have solved it this way, for the people that set it up like this, when you cross multiplied and you went ahead and did the x times 42 and the 48 times 14, when you did all of that and you solved everything, is it true that you ended up getting x equals 16? Is it true that that's what you got after it was all said and done? All right, so let me help you explain why that was the case, but that's incorrect. Let me show you why that was the case, and again, why that was incorrect. This right here is wrong. And let me show you why. Because, everybody, take a look here. The x that we're looking for here is t, let's say total sticks. That represents the total. So this x that we're looking for, technically speaking, represents the total. Well, guess what this over here represents? Let me go ahead and just make this a little smaller. Well, then guess what the 14 represents on the other side? That 14 represents the blue sticks. Okay, so let's write that down. Blue sticks. But party people, what's next? The 48. What does that 48 represent? Oh, that represents yellow, and the 42 also represents yellow. So right now, the 48 and the 42, those are good. Those are fine because those are set up the same way. Everybody, do you see how those are set up in the same way here? 48 or 48 yellow, and here it's 42 yellow. Are we good on those with the yellows? Are we good on the yellows being compared the same way? But what's the big problem? The big problem is that you have x for the total and 14 for the blue. Those aren't being compared in the same way. Those are not being compared in the same way. And so because that was like that, because it was set up like that, this is going to give you a bad time. And the bad time is this doesn't actually represent total. That right there does not represent total. This right here, that actually represents blue. That actually represents blue. And so now that when you did that, when you solve for the 16, this is actually 16 blue sticks, not the total number of sticks. And so everybody, if you would have gotten to this point, how do you actually solve for the total? How do you actually get the total? Exactly, that's right. So Jonathan, you'll add the 14 back you'll add the 16 back with the 48 that you have. Yeah, because you have 16 blue sticks and that goes with the 48 yellow. What you can say is you add the 48 yellow and that's going to equal what? That's going to equal 64 total sticks. Correct or incorrect? Yeah, and then that's what will give you the answer choice B. That would be the correct answer. That's why A is wrong and B is correct. Yeah. Now, yeah, we can definitely look at this and think that it's tricky. We can definitely look at this and say, man, this looks like this would be giving us a hard time for sure. But let me go ahead and make it very clear that we can still get this right without having to do all of those mental gymnastics. We don't have to do all that crazy funky stuff. We can actually get this right a little easier. And again, the only thing you need to worry about is comparing the same things in the same way. Let's go ahead and go over this one more time. So the reason that we added the 48 was because you see right here, if we were asked, hey, how many total sticks if we have 48 yellow sticks? So we got 48 yellow. We accidentally calculated the 16 blue. But if we're looking for the total, that's 48 of the yellow plus the 16 that are blue, the total of them. And that's how we got the 64. Because again, we were looking for the total the whole time. We ended up accidentally finding the missing piece to get the total, and that's how we can get it done. Yeah, the key word is total. And again, the 16 came from cross multiplying and dividing right here to solve that proportion. That accidentally incorrect one, when you solve it, you accidentally got blue, not total. Now, does anybody here want to know how to set up the proportion so that way you don't have to remember to add or subtract at the end? You can just plug it in and solve and be done. Who would rather do that? Right? I think it's the majority of us. I think the majority of us would rather set it up right the first time and be done. So let me do this for you here. Let me go ahead and just take this. Let me just copy it over. Move you just a little over here. Give me a little more space and move you over here. Hopefully that gives me a little more room. Now, what we're going to focus on is this part right here. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fix this up. This blue, I don't like that. I don't like that says blue. I know that I'm trying to solve for total. And so here's the thing. If I'm comparing on the left side, my X total, because again, I want the X total with 48 yellow. So I did that, X for the total and 48 for the yellow. What I need to do, everybody, what did I say? If there's a yellow on the bottom denominator, there needs to be a yellow on this denominator. And if the top on the left is total, then that means that the top of the right should also represent what? It should also represent what? If the top left represents total, the top right also needs to represent what? The same thing, the total. You need to compare the same things in the same way. And so that's why over here, this 14 blue sticks, gone. I do not care about the 14 blue sticks. I have yellows lined up, and I need to line up the totals. But the question is, how do I do a total with a proportion? Well, guess what, everybody? What does total mean again? We just proved it. When we got the 16 blue and the 48 yellow, to get total, we did what again? We added it all up. So if we want to find the total of that second part that we were given, the 14 blue sticks with the 42 yellow sticks, we can get the total by adding them up right here. So if we're looking at those two, 14 blue plus 42 yellow equals how many total, everybody? 14 plus 42 is what again? 56 total. This is absolutely important. Absolutely important. Let me put that in blue or something a little more noticeable. I'll just use red. But that is absolutely important because we're going to put 56 total here for that comparison. Again, yes or no, are we starting to see the importance of comparing the same things in the same way to have the proportion be true? Again, I can't stress this enough. Like, this is the biggest thing you need to learn when it comes to this. So we have total, and then we have yellow on the bottom. I'll just do green for that, and then yellow on this side as well. So again, look at this. Hopefully with the color, we see that now. We're comparing the same things in the same way. Total on top, yellow on bottom, total on top, yellow on bottom. And now that we're here, now we can do this, and now we can get rid of all of this and do this all over again. We can cross multiply and divide and have our fun. So it would really be x times 42 which is 42x. And then you would do 48 times 56. My party people, what did you get when doing 48 times 56? 2,688. So before I continue, let me answer these questions here because these are great questions. So from Raymond, why wouldn't you add the 48 to the 56? So the reason that you don't add the 48 and the 56 is because the 42 is from this first sentence or from the second sentence. Look at where the 42 comes from. Right over here. One moment. So the 42 comes from right over here. And the 56 is the 14 and the 42 together. And if you're asking why aren't we adding the 48 plus the 56, plus the 56, that doesn't make sense. Because you have 48 yellow, but that's from the question sentence. That's from here. The 42 and the 14, that comes from the first sentence, the first scenario. So now you're doing one thing with one scenario and something from the other. It doesn't quite make so much sense. And the word total means get them all together in terms of that comparison. What's the total of that comparison? And Socorro, the way that you know what goes where is going to be based off of, again, I sound like a broken record, but comparing the same things in the same way. So when we're here, let's go and bring it back over here. What we did to get the 2688 was multiply the 48 times the 56 when we cross multiplied. So if I went ahead and put a shape here and I put a stick, we would go from here to here. And that is in black right there, cross multiply there, and cross multiply here. So there's the best that I can do with cross multiplication and division with a mouse pad, but there it is. And we would have 42x equals 2688. And then from there, divide both sides by 42. And we will get our final answer, which is going to be what, my party people? 64. But again, that's if x equals 64 right there. That's if you wanted to torture yourself and do it that way. Again, if you wanted to torture yourself. Another way that you could have seen it if you wanted to go the mental math route is you may be able to notice that you can simplify 56 and the 42 because 56 and 42 are both divisible by 7. And so after dividing them both by 7, then you would see there's an opportunity to multiply by 8 to get the answer very quickly. And I can show you that right here. Let me move this over here. I'm going to show you exactly what to do. So just pay attention for 2 seconds and you're good. Everybody, 56 and 42. Again, 56 and 42 are both divisible by what? Both divisible by what? 7. Everyone help me. 56 divided by 7 is what? That's going to be 8. So we can take that out, put 8. Everybody, 42 divided by 7 is what? That's going to give us 6. So bam. So the 56 over 42, that can simplify to 8 over 6. Why is that important? Well, guess what? Because if you're going from the right to the left, from 8 to the total, well, if you figure out what 6 to 48 is, then you have the same comparison. Everyone, how do you go from 6 to 48? How do you go from 6 to 48? Times 8. You can go to 6 to 48 times 8. And so the answer is going to be then from 8 to the answer is going to be 8 times 8. 8 times 8 is going to be 64, and you're done. And you would be done in that case. So yes or no, my party people, does that make even a little more sense with that example there? Especially with using mental math. Especially with mental math, it does make things a little easier, a little more bearable. So don't worry. Again, the pen being broken today, not my fault. They see there's a small tip here that completely broke the moment I dropped it. Things happen, but tomorrow we will definitely be back with the best as always. So the way that we get the 2688 was going to be from multiplication again. From earlier, right over here, if we looked at the copy, let me just bring that down and just kind of make it a little smaller. That down right over there. And if I zoom on in, If you, again, cross multiply 48 and 56, you would have gotten the 2688, Lewis. That's how that would have happened. If you would have done it the traditional way, that's how it would have gotten done. So let me just zoom on out enough to show you the problem. Boom. Cool. No worries, man. And so now we're going to go ahead and get into another practice problem where I want to see if you can handle this one. This one's going to have decimals, but the idea stays the same. Compare the same things in the same way. Try it out, my party people, while I order a brand new Apple Pencil to pick up first thing tomorrow. So go ahead. Here's your timer. Getting started right now. Seth, as always, man, we go through these ups and downs and make sure that you're paying attention to the process, the basic strategy. Start with the question. What information is connected to that question? Compare the same things in the same way. Follow that, follow that, follow that. Stop feeling sorry for yourself until after this. Do your thing. And 3, 2, 1, and time, my party people. That is time. Let me go ahead and bring this bread back into the picture, get that timer out of the way, and get that back in. Cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, my party people. Looks like a lot of us got B here. And, that seems like this might be the correct answer, possibly, allegedly, maybe, who knows? We're going to figure that out. But what I care more about, my party people, is how confident were you in working through this problem? And if you were lost or stuck or confused, say that. But I want to know where where your head was at for the majority of the problem. Okay, dead, confident, confused. Okay, so again, there's a range of emotions again. That's cool. I felt very confused, lost, kind of, but you tried, a bit confused, got thrown off. No worries at all. I got you. I got you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and work on this setup and work on making sure we know how to compare the same things in the same way. So let's first understand the question. Everybody, in one word, what are you looking for in this question? In one word, what are you looking for? Brian, Whitney both say pay. Lewis, Jessica, Tay, Mason, pay. How much is Anthony getting paid? Exactly. So we should be very, very proud that we know what we're looking for here. We want to know how much should Anthony be paid. Right there. Let's highlight that in red. That's what we want. Let me bold that. Let me underline it. We want to know how much Anthony should get paid. So let's go ahead and write that out over here. Let's not be shy about it. Let's put a little text box that says, hey, we want to know Anthony's pay. Let me make that a little bigger for all of us there, right? Anthony's pay is blank. And do they include any information with that pay? Like what they're getting paid for? You know, what's he getting paid for? His lifetime of work? Like what is Anthony getting paid for, everybody? Help me out. What is Anthony getting paid for? No, but in this specific problem, the question sentence, it's saying how much should Anthony be paid? Is there any other information associated with that? Is there something specific? Yeah, 15 hours of work, right? Right here it says it. Works 15 hours at the same rate, at the same pay rate. So that is important information that's tied into the problem. Do you see how the pay that you're looking for is connected to 15 hours of work? Yes or no, my party people? Do you see that? That the pay you're looking for is tied to 15 hours of work. Cool. So is he getting paid blank for 15 hours? We want to write that down. We need to be ready to write that down, everybody. Because now here's what we're going to do. So let me keep that in red here. Let me keep that in red. And then in the next sentence, or in the next line here, we're going to do this in green. We're going to highlight things in green now. Notice how here it says, hey, Anthony's paid $87 for 3 hours. So here, Anthony paid, and I'm going to switch the color in a moment, $87 for 3 hours. So let's go ahead and highlight that, make that green. Everybody, do you notice how we're comparing the same things in the same way? Does this show it to you? No, Justin, I'm glad you see it there. Are we starting to see, everybody else, how we're comparing the same things in the same way? Hours and pay, hours and pay. So what we're going to do now, we can do a little mental math trick, everybody. We can do a little mental math trick. How do I know? Watch this. I can go ahead and show you this comparison right over here. I can show you over here, and I'll use black. Look at here how it goes from bottom to top. That's times 5. Everybody, do you see going from 3 hours right here to 15 hours? That's times 5. Do we see that comparison? So guess what the comparison is from $87 to the correct answer? What do we need to do to 87 to get the correct answer? What do we need to do? Times 5. Yep, we can get that done mentally quickly as soon as we can. We are good. Right over here, that'll be times 5 as well. And so we'll highlight that, just make that black again. So boom. And so therefore, 87 times 5 equals $435. You're done. And that would be your answer. And you're all good. Again, you can set up your proportion and do the cross multiplication and division. You could absolutely do that. Or you can go ahead and notice that, again, these comparisons happening in the same way give you the numbers you're multiplying by all the way through. The way that we get 5, Anthony, is by noticing 2 ways. One way is noticing that from 3 hours to 15 hours, that is going to be times 5. So when you notice that bottom to top, so from hours to hours, from 3 hours to 15 hours, that's times 5. From $87 to the total dollars, that would be times 5. And once you have that, boom, you can do it and you can have yourself a good time. Yeah. And then the setup, no worries, and the setup as a proportion would look something like this, my party people. The setup as a proportion would look like this. It would say, I'd say P for paid. P paid over, we could say 15 hours equals $87 paid over 3 hours. So just like that, and just like that. And then I can write this, and I can say paid. Boom. So does that make a little more sense in terms of setting up the proportion? That would be it. Right there is set up as a proportion. And then you can also notice, again, 3 to 15 times 5, 87 to the answer. That would be times 5 all the way through. So Yes or no, making any more sense than we did before we move on to the next one. Here you could have cross multiplied and divided. 87 times 15 probably wouldn't have been fun, but if you did it that way, you did it that way. If you did it backwards, then yeah, it wouldn't have lined up. Because again, you got to make sure things line up when it comes to the comparison. Paid up top, hours on the bottom. So let's go ahead and set that up there with green. Boom. And we'll be good there. So again, that would end up working out just fine because it is set up properly. Again, it's all about the setup because again, once you have the setup, it's just working with the numbers and calculating and doing your thing. But you cannot overlook the setup because if you overlook details, then you're overlooking the answer. Straight up. So let's go ahead and get into this next one here, my poor people. Let's go. Let's have some fun. This next one here, we're going to go ahead and make sure you can see the whole question. Right there. Cool. Hopefully this should be enough. Again, I do apologize, my party people. I am sorry for breaking this Apple Pencil. Complete accident. But we will be ready to go tomorrow, and I will have plenty of backups as well. So I hate making the same mistakes twice. But with that, let's go ahead and get into it with the next practice. 3, 2. Oh, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and try to go through 3 questions back to back, and let's see how we handle that. So 2.5 minutes per question. Let me go ahead and get the timer up for you. Get my face out of the way. Let's have some fun, everybody. Don't type the answer until I say go. Just type ready when you're ready. Let's have some fun. And go. Yeah, indeed, that would have worked. Yeah, dividing by 3, then multiply by 15, still would have worked. And time is up, my party people. What answers do you have? What answers do you have? Let's check it out. And I'm going to go move my screen over to this one over here because I was able to figure out how to write with my finger instead of my pencil for now for the time being. So figured it out. Let's go ahead and get into this here. So I see a lot of us have it looks like C is a common answer. Let's see what you mean. Yeah, it looks like a lot of us did put C, some D's. Okay, let's go ahead and see what we got. So what we're looking for is, again, how long it'll take Daniel to earn the $441. So the how long, everybody, can you agree that the how long is hours? Because if you look at the choices, all of the choices say hours. Is that fair to say? We're looking for the number of hours. Right, I think we can start there nice and smooth. We're looking for blank hours. And again, I'm using my finger here, so excuse the kindergarten handwriting. And so we're looking for blank hours. Did they give you any information to associate directly with those numbers of hours? Were you given anything to associate directly in the same sentence potentially? Right. The $441 is what we want to look at because they tell you right over here. They give you, again, at this rate, how long will it take to earn $441? Those two pieces of information are connected. And so blank hours for $441. Everybody, is that correct? The number of hours that we're looking for is connected to $441. Making sure that we're good there. Perfect. Sounds good. So here's what we're going to look at next. What we're going to look at next is we're going to take a look at this information here where it says, hey, look, Daniel's paid this much money, $183.75, for 5 hours of work. So I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write that down right over here. I'm going to say, $183.75 for 5 hours. But everybody, is that a proper setup? If I just write it the way that I see it, is it always going to be correct? No, not always going to be correct. We have to really pay attention, guys. We really do need to pay attention because the way that we set it up really matters. Notice how it goes: hours, then pay. But here we go pay, then hours. So that is definitely going to be a little tough. So what I'm going to end up doing is swapping them out. Hours first on both. Hours, money, money. Is this a little better, everybody? Does this help us understand the right way to do it? Excellent. So with that said, the next step that we'll take is we're simply going to go ahead now and set up a proportion, solve it, and be done. So here we go. We'll set this up. We'll say H for hours right over here. So we'll have H over 441 equals 5 hours over 183.75. Okay. So with that, what we can do from here is we can do a couple of different things. We could just try to cross multiply and divide, but everybody, do you really want to end up cross multiplying 441 times 5 and then dividing by 180, a decimal? Do you really want to put yourself in a position to do that? Not quite, right? That's not quite going to be what we're trying to achieve here, try to go for. So instead of doing that, we could try to give ourselves a slightly better position here. And what I mean by that is, what if we could simplify? And the answer is yes. Everyone, right over here, we have the number 5. Let me just take care of this. We have the number 5 right here. And here we have another number that ends in 5. Everyone, what do we know about numbers that end in 5? They are all divisible by what? They're all divisible by 5. Yeah, they're all divisible by 5. I can simplify this. I can do some savvy stuff here. And what I'm going to do in terms of that savvy stuff is I'm going to divide 5 into 183.75. I'm going to divide it in there and see what I can do. So here we go. 5 goes into 18 3 times, so that'll be minus 15. That's 3. Bring that 3 down. 5 goes into 33. That'll be 6 times. Subtract 30. That's a 3. Bring that 7. 5 goes into 37 7 times. Put that decimal place right where it belongs. So that'll end up being minus 35. Then we have ourselves a 2 and a 5. That's so much math that y'all can't even see, right? I'm going into the next problem. And so that'll end up being a 5 right there. But nonetheless, we simplify this right here. We have H over 441 equals 1 over 36 $36.75. $36.75. So is that enough to get the problem done? Well, what you're going to have to understand is you're going to be cross multiplying here, and then you can divide, or you can notice that to go from 441 to the answer, you could divide by 36.75, but still you're doing the same math. If you wanted to look at it another way, potentially you could do it mentally. And what I mean by mentally is saying, hey, if I'm going from 36.75 to 441, let's take a look at which one of these answers would be the most reasonable. Think about it like this here, everybody. I have these numbers here, and I can tell you right now that if I wanted to go from, let's say, 441 to H, it would need to be from 36 to there. So it would need to be sort of like the same comparison, or you can think of it like this as well. You can think of it as 36.75 to 441 is the same as 1 to H. Everyone, quick question. If I multiply 36.75, if I multiply that by 10, am I going to be below or over 441? If I do 36 and some change, 36.75, if I do that times 10, am I going to be below or above? I'm going to be below, right? So if I multiply by 7 hours, is that going to be at 441? If I multiply by something even smaller than 10, am I going to get there? No, I'm not going to get there. No. If I know that multiplying by 10 is still not there, then what does that tell me about multiplying by 7? Not going to be there. I can use some mental math wherewithal and say, that's not going to be the answer. I don't want to divide by 36.75. I'm going to use my mental math here. Let's take a look at 21, 19, and 12. Everyone, 36 times, let's say 10, that's 360. 36 times 20, wouldn't that be 720, somewhere around there? That'd be somewhere really, really up there, right? So is it possible that it's 19 or 21? Some of those are huge numbers over there. Is it possible that it's one of those? No, no to those either. The one that looks like it could possibly be the closest to me right here would be C. The one that looks like it could be the closest would be C. And so with that, boom, you can use some mental math guesswork to get that as the answer, or you can also guess and check by applying the 12. You could do 36.75 times 12, and you could try it out that way if you got desperate. But with some mental math, you could definitely say, yeah, the 7's too low, the 19 and 21 are way too high. The answer would be 12. Yes or no? Is that something that you would try out in your practice? Right? It's something that could happen in your practice. Absolutely. We want to make sure that we try it out when we can. That way, we're not stuck in the whole, this has to get done only one way. We don't want that. Not that often. Yeah, you could try to do 441 divided by 12, but again, that's getting the 12, like, oh, the 441 divided by 12, yeah, that would work, yeah, because that would get you down to the, yeah, that'll get you down to the 36.75. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, feel free, take a picture. If you'd like to take a picture, feel free to do that here. Let me get this out of the way. Take your picture there, and you're good. And then we're going to have one more question to deal with, and then we are going to wrap class up. And again, apologies to those of you who came today for the first time, because that Apple Pencil should not have broken, but it did, unfortunately. But we will have a new one fresh for tomorrow's class. And Dakota, so your message, I will definitely let you go on the chat box once the class is wrapping up. We just want to make sure we get this one last problem in. So let's go and get this one last one in, my reporter people. Let's go do this one for 2.5 minutes. Let's go. No, I didn't, man. I wish. Man, you think I'm trying to break my own property? Get out of here. So there's your timer. Let me get my face out of the way. And that is time, my party people. Let's go ahead and check this one out, man. Let's go, let's go, let's go. So, checking it out here, we have ourselves a problem that says, how many feet of wood will they need? Okay, so how many feet of wood will they need? So, what we're going to do here is let me get my face back into the picture, and then let me get the timer back out. Cool. So, what we need to understand, again, my party people, first thing is always understanding what the goal of the question is. If you don't know what the goal is, you're going to get stuck. It's going to be frustrating. So the goal here is how many feet of wood will they need? But notice how in the same sentence we say if the furniture maker wants to make 48 chairs. So again, everybody, yes or no, do you see that the 48 chairs and the number of feet of wood, those are connected together? Yes or no? Do you see that? Same sentence. If this, then that, right? If this, then how many of that? They're connected. They're connected. They're connected. So we'll say blank feet of wood, and that makes 48 chairs. So if we look at the other information given in the problem, it says the furniture maker needs to use 12 feet of wood for every 6 chairs. So right there, 12 feet of wood for every 6 chairs. Everyone, do we even need to set up a proportion to solve this problem, or could we just compare in the same way? Which way could we go? Which way could we go? It's going to be interesting, right? Right, we can compare. This one's going to be pretty neat. We can compare pretty quickly and be done. So there's actually 2 ways to do this. And this is going to be a nice, neat one to show you. So first, you can go ahead and notice that, hey, I can go from 6 to 12, and that'll be times 2. So let me actually just show the proportion to show the comparison. So I'm going to say F feet of wood. So F feet of wood over 48. And you got that equaling the same way. So wood to chairs, wood to chairs. So I'll do 12 over 6. Now, again, check this out. Look how neat this can be, everybody. If I zoom on in over here, I can go ahead and show you that, hey, right over here, I can go from 6 to 8. That's times 2. And that means I'll compare the same way over here. Everybody, or excuse me, not times 2, excuse me. Wow. That's going to be times 8 going this way. Times 8 going right to left. And we can do the same thing over here. Everybody, what's 12 times 8? Right, that'll be 96. F equals 96 feet of wood. You can also do it this way, my math party people. Look at this now. You can also go from 6 to 12. That's times 2. That's just doubling. And so cool, you can do 48 to F. That's times 2. Everybody, what's 48 times 2? What's that going to be? 96 again. F equals 96 feet. So again, you can get the same answer the right way both times, and it really does depend on your setup. Because if you would have accidentally swapped the 6 and the 12, you would have thought that you would have had to double the 12 to get to the answer, and you would have thought that the answer was 24. But no, actually, or 48 you may have gotten as well, but the answer is 96. 96 feet. I love seeing that, Maddie. And Maddie, you've been with us for such a short time in terms of the program, and you've been kicking butt, kicking butt, kicking butt. Absolutely. Love seeing that. Absolutely love seeing that. So, hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. And again, you got a lot of progress to make, and I'm really excited to see you make it. But with that said, with this is the exception, because I'm going to go ahead and steam over this after this class. But beyond that, how was this introductory class for proportions for you, my party people? How was this introductory class? Yeah, feeling great about it, feeling good. Because guess what, guys? Like tomorrow, we're going to be doing problem after problem after problem after brand new problem after brand new problem. Like we're going to have a lot of brand new questions to do tomorrow, and it's going to be a very, very, very good time. So I want to make sure I wrap this up the right way. For those of you that were here today and attended, please, before you go, there's one thing that I asked. One thing that I ask is that you go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you appreciate the videos that I put out. That way we can reach more people just like you. In the coming year, we're planning on doing a lot more with our channel, with the website, with our outreach, and doing more with people who need to raise their scores. So if you appreciate the videos that you've seen from us, we would really appreciate that you follow the channel. It's called Duran Learning on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, and please just watch a video and leave a comment on every video that you watch. That way more people can get the chance to see it. So again, it's Duran Learning on YouTube. So that's going to be that. Now, for those of you that are in the program, just like I went over in the beginning of class, the two things that you should always be working on are the ASVAB Math Basics Progress Book, which is going to be in your account right when you log in. Just click it. Work on the math basics before moving into the arithmetic reasoning bootcamp. In that arithmetic reasoning course, remember that in section 2, you'll find everything you need for proportions, from recorded lessons to all of the casual practice problems with video solutions, the whole 9. So there is all of that. Now, lastly, for those of you that are interested in my full program, this is where I will go ahead and give you information about it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat box right here. And I'm going to go ahead and say that for those of you that are in the program, I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Again, if you are in the program, I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. And for those of you that are not in the program, I'm going to drop the link right there in the chat box with the coupon code that works tonight only. Now, I'm going to go through how the program works, how it benefits you, and if you'd like to sign up, please feel free to do so. And if you have any questions and you can't stay, here's my phone number so you can text me, and I'll reply to you once I'm in office tomorrow. My phone number is 567-698-8867. That is my phone number right there. Go ahead and text me and let me know that you're interested in the full program if you can't stay right now. And I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you about the plan, how it works for you, and how we can structure a study plan that will really help you go from wherever you are to as confident as you need to be. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and respect your time this evening, because typically I go through these questions. But long story short, if you have test anxiety, if you hate figuring out what to study by yourself and how to do it instead of having it all lined up for you, if you feel like you blank on word problems or feel like you run out of time on the real test way too often, then those are problems that are fixable with the program. On top of that, if you like this class and you like the way that it worked and it flowed for you, and more of this with the other topics could work for you, like paragraph comprehension, math knowledge, word knowledge, then yes, we have all of that lined up for you. So essentially, the program helps you raise your score and get the job you want because you already have the willingness to study. It's just a matter of having everything lined up and having someone that you can use as a resource. So the students that communicate with me in the program the most, they always pass every single time. So as long as you're willing to follow the plan and ask questions about how things work when you're confused, you're good. I've already made it as easy as possible. Hopefully I'm friendly enough for you to talk to, but essentially you'll get all the live classes, all the recordings, over 10,000 practice questions to know that you're building confidence the right way, and access to practice tests and access to me for whenever you need help. That's essentially it. I make life as easy as possible by giving you all the classes, courses, and confidence you need. So if you're excited about that and you want that, all you have to do is, again, click the link that I put here in the chat box, or you can go to that link right there, asvab.info/classes. And what you're going to do is click sign up and raise your score, pick a plan and sign up, and that's it. If you already have an account on the website, just make sure to click the sign in button instead of sign up for an account. And that has literally been it. So again, if you're interested in the program, there's a full 2-minute video on how it works there, but you get all the classes, courses, and confidence you need. Now, there are a lot of questions that people have to ask, and I believe that a former student of mine, Dakota, is here. Oh, Dakota had already left. Oh, no. That's good, but no worries. I wanted to congratulate Dakota, who passed their ASVAB as well. Dakota was in the same place that you guys were struggling, and Dakota did that job, did a great job, and ended up being a 56, I believe, from previous 2 failing scores. So shout out to Dakota. I'll make sure to show Dakota this recording in the morning because I know Dakota had to go, but shout out to Dakota on passing. And so to answer these questions over here, if you have any questions at all about the program, let me know. So going up from the top here, asvab.info/classes right there. I'll put the link again in a moment. And yes, it's a monthly and yearly. Now over here, Corey, have a few questions. Go ahead and ask away, my brother. I got you. Shirley, you sent a text when we answer. So I was gone from Friday till Monday. Again, medical things. But tomorrow I'm in office early, and I'll be answering all texts and emails from the weekend. I did get a chance to answer a couple of like around 50 before class started today. So if you weren't part of that group that I answered, if your text was from Thursday or Friday, I'm going to get back to you first thing tomorrow. I got you. So thanks for being patient on that, Shirley. I really do appreciate that. Could there be another holiday special for the hoodies? Chandre hit me up on that because the price that I put for the hoodies is actually the lowest possible cost. I actually don't make money off of the hoodies. The producer of the shirts, the person who distributes it for me, they make the money. I don't charge anymore. I do that because I want people to be proud to wear the ASVAB stuff. So when you see the 25 or 30 bucks for the hoodie, that is the lowest possible price that I can do. So on that private message, so hey coach, how do I log into the classes on Tuesday and Wednesday? I texted you, but no answer. Just been doing the recordings and Monday classes. So you'll get a text and an email before the Tuesday and Wednesday classes, just like you do for the Mondays. Maddie, I do believe you're in the program, so let me go ahead and just double check your account to make sure that you're good. Because what may be happening, Maddie, is you may have 2 accounts, which you don't. Okay, so that's good. And so Maddie, as long as you're checking your email that is your Gmail, the abeta@gmail.com. So if you're checking that one, you should be good. And I'll check the text as well for you. We did fix our automation this weekend. So if you don't get the text tomorrow or the email, then just go ahead and shoot me a text again directly, and I'll make sure that you're updated correctly in the system. Actually, just shoot me a text and email now. Just say, hey, coach, this is Maddie. Here's the email that should be on file. Here's the phone number that should be on file. Because we're just going to make sure that we're not misspelling an email or a text, just to make sure that we're all good. I got you. And that's correct, Socorro. You buy it now, you immediately get access to all the recordings, every single one. That's right. And that's the great thing about it. Like, you don't have to wait for the classes to get going. There are already over 350 class recordings incorporated into all the courses you're going to get. So again, there's no more guesswork. You have everything lined up for you now. That's right, Mason. Tomorrow the class is going to be the same time as was today, and we're going to be destroying all these questions in class. Absolutely. Great questions, my party people. Great questions. Great questions. And the classes are 3 days a week. 3 days a week, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. And they're typically 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So I like to do the same time all the way through. Perfect. Sounds good, Maddie. I'll make sure to check that first thing in the morning. I gotcha. Yeah, it definitely varies. We end up going through the entire cycle of arithmetic reasoning topics every 2.5 months. So we reset it every 2.5 months to go make sure that we're hitting every single topic that you haven't hit in the live classes. But again, you have all the courses to go through every single one of those topics individually on demand whenever you want to. What's the best way for me to know what I should be studying, like a plan for me? So Mason, great question. And to answer that question, we actually already answered that question with the program. So when you started, you're going to basically start with the ASVAB Math Basics course. The Basics course is going to give you access to every type of number situation that you're going to deal with. So it's going to teach you how to handle negative numbers, decimals, fractions, large numbers, large divisions. I'm going to teach you all of that. So that way, when you transition to arithmetic reasoning and math knowledge, when you get into the big boys, you're good, because all you're doing is focusing on learning structures of word problems and not freaking out when you see a big decimal or something like that. So the best way is exactly how I tell you to start. When you sign up for the program, I'm going to tell you, start with the math basics, then go into arithmetic reasoning and math knowledge. When it comes to word knowledge and paragraph comprehension, that's very suitable for setting up your practice 3 days a week, an hour a piece to start off. Always works out great. And if we need to add or take away time from that during the week, if you're good or need more work, definitely doable. But I got everything lined up for you, nice and easy. So these are great questions, everybody. These are absolutely great questions. Are there any other questions before I head out for the evening? Because I need to go ahead and make sure that we continue preparing the right way for these classes coming up. But if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them anyway. And as soon as we buy the plan, we can text and receive messages from you. Absolutely, Squirrel. Absolutely. So even without the program, you can text me if you are looking to buy something or need help getting something. But when you're in the program, yeah, you can text me with questions about anything ASVAB related. It could be questions on my website. It could be a question that you saw on the practice test. It could be the question that you saw in another book that you need help with. I'm your basically personal tutor. So Monday through Friday, you can feel free to text me and you'll get a prompt reply within 24 hours. Hey, have a nice night, Mason. Sounds good. So yeah, once you're done getting the program, you shoot me a text directly. You'll get an automated text from my server, and then you can text my personal line directly to let me know how things are going. But again, just start by with that program checklist, follow it through from start to finish, and you'll be good. That's right. Yep. The yearly comes with a couple more benefits, but it's the same content. Yeah, same content. Cool. So I do believe that we're all good. Any other questions here? Again, these are great questions for the evening, guys. Again, if you have any questions at all, you can go ahead and feel free to text me at 567-698-8867, my party people. And Justin, the difference between the monthly and the yearly is going to be, again, the monthly, basically, if you want to pass as quickly as possible, that just gives you the opportunity to spend less throughout your time with me. And if you are looking for the highest score possible, the yearly is the way to go. It does come with a few more benefits than the monthly, such as if I add a new course or add a new feature to the program that's game changing, the people in the full year, they never pay any extra. They pay once, never pay again. For the people in the subscription, I may make you upgrade your subscription to the newer model, to the newer version, once I add a new course. That way to make things fair. And the way that you apply the coupon score, no worries. Hey, you're asking questions. That's fine, man. Like, I'm here to teach you. So the way you're going to apply the coupon is you're going to take the Monday code, all caps. When you're paying and putting your credit card information in, at the bottom, you'll see a prompt that says, do you have a coupon? So you'll type in Monday, then you'll hit the button that says redeem. Hit the redeem button. It'll apply the coupon for whichever plan you picked, and then you're ready to pay. So again, paste the coupon code, hit redeem, and you're good. Hey, you're welcome. You're good. You're absolutely welcome. So again, one last thing. Sure. What's up? I got you. Absolutely. The recordings are available the very next day by around 10 a.m. Eastern time. So you'll get the access to the recordings right when they're up, and you're good to go. Exactly. Yeah, and so for proportions for tomorrow's class, you already have, again, 15 activities ready to go that you can access right when you sign up. You just go ahead and go into the arithmetic reasoning bootcamp course that you have, and bam, that's it. You're good. Yeah, you're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. So again, everybody, go ahead and take a screenshot of my phone number in case you have any questions about that. Again, my number is 567-698-8867. I do need to go ahead and excuse myself for the evening, but you guys have been an absolute pleasure to have in the class. So if you have any questions at all about the program or anything else that I can help you out with, my party people, let me know. I'm Coach Anderson. Love you guys. Let's ace the ASVAB, and I will see you in tomorrow's class at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 8 p.m. That's time. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Let's ace the ASVAB. Cheers. Cheers, my party people. And everybody on YouTube, I will see you later.